I talked to Mrs. Falk, and she wanted me, because last time on my first lesson we looked at literature, which honestly I love more than grammar.
No.
I know, it's shocking. However, she wanted me to teach a lesson on some type of grammar, so she decided that the functions of a noun would be a good place to go. We're not looking at all of the functions of a noun today, but we're going to look at 5, and we're going to take the class time to do so. If you look, the half sheet of paper is actually a story. It's my favorite short story. Because it's only half a page, but it tells an entire story. So I'm going to read it to you while you circle all of the nouns, because I think you already, I hope, know your nouns, which are, how do you describe a noun? A person, place, or thing. So you're going through and you're going to circle. We're going to see if you got all of those, and then we're going to look to see how much you know already about the functions of nouns, because most of what you learn in grammar is each year you learn it, then you review it, and then you review it the next year so that it becomes solid, because it's important, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So I'm going to read your story. It's called The Appointment in Samara. If you'll notice, the first sentence of it is separate than the other ones because it tells you an important fact. It says, the speaker is deaf. So the narrator of this story is deaf himself, or herself, you'll find out. There was a merchant in Baghdad who sent his servant to market to buy provisions, and in a little while the servant came back white and trembling and said, "Master, when I was in the marketplace, I was jostled by a woman in the crowd, and when I turned, I saw it was death that had jostled me. She looked at me and made a threatening gesture. 'Lend me your horse, and I will ride away from the city and avoid my fate. I will go to Samara, and death will not find me.' The merchant lent him his horse, and the servant mounted it, and he dug his spurs in its flanks, and as fast as the horse could gallop, he went. Then the merchant went down to the marketplace, and he saw me." Who's me? Death, all right. "And he saw me standing in the crowd. And he came to me and said, 'Why did you make a threatening gesture to my servant when you saw him this morning?' 'That was not a threatening gesture,' I said. 'It was only a start of surprise. I was astonished to see him in Baghdad, for I had an appointment with him tonight in Samara.'" How is this like Oedipus Rex? Yes.
In trying to escape his fate, he drove himself right into it.
It's the same idea, which you'll see in literature a lot, where you're trying to escape your fate, but you actually run into your fate. Anyway, it's a nice little short story. You may not be done, but we have a lot to cover today, even though it seems like it should be simple just to talk about 5 nouns, but we're going to look at them in some different ways. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to have you raise your hand if you're ready to tell me all of the nouns in the first sentence, and we'll see if we can just pop through these as quickly as possible. So go ahead. Okay, let me think. Will. Never going to get it right. Noah.
Merchant, Baghdad, servant.
You missed it. What's the first sentence?
Oh wait, it was the speaker's death.
Oh, speaker, death.
That is it. All right, speaker and death. Second sentence. Yes.
Merchant, Baghdad, servant, market, provision, servant.
You missed one.
Master. Oh wait. Is it a little? Is it little?
No.
Is it who?
No.
Are we doing pronouns?
You are not doing pronouns, but you missed a
There.
noun.
Is it there?
Between provisions and servant.
What's a
While.
market?
While, all right? It's a little tricky because when you think person, place, or thing, you don't think while. But what does while mean here?
Oh, it's like referring to time.
It's a period of time, absolutely. So it's a period of time, so it's a thing. So while, all right, keep going. So the sentence continues. I think you went on to master. What was after that? Oh no, is that with the new sentence? Okay, we'll go. Who wants to do what's in the quotations? Starting with master. I think he's already noted that one. Anybody ready? Go ahead, Tanner.
Master, marketplace, woman, crowd, death, gesture, horse, city, fate.
Okay, that's good. Who wants to take it from there? I think you got them all. From I will go. Don't all volunteer at once. Should have to call on someone. Rose, are you ready?
No, but I can.
Go from I will go.
Okay, Samara?
Yes.
Death?
Yep.
Okay.
That's good. All right, next sentence. Starting with the merchant. Lily, can you do it from there? Okay. I think you skipped a line. After flanks, what's in the next line?
Horse.
Horse, there you go, horse. Okay, then the next sentence is then the merchant. Who wants to take it from there? Lucas?
Merchant, marketplace, crowd.
Good. And in the quotes, can you go from there? Carter? From why did you make a threatening gesture?
Gesture and that.
Not, did you say that?
Yes.
No, not that. Gesture, there's two other ones in that one. Servant, all right, what's the other one? Morning, good. And starting with, that was not a threatening gesture. What about that one? Who's got it?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Starting with, that was not a threatening gesture. Alex, you ready? Starting with, that was not a threatening gesture to the end. What else do you have in there? That's.
Gesture,
Okay, gesture.
surprise, or no,
178.
sorry.
See if they're okay with that.
Yeah. So was surprise one or wasn't it?
No.
Wait, surprise? Yeah.
Yes. All right, so you got start and surprise. Good. And what about that last line? Alex?
Baghdad,
Baghdad?
appointment, tomorrow.
Good. All right, now, I'm going to give you 10 of those words. So you should have all of the noun circle. We didn't do all of the pronouns. What's the difference between a noun and a pronoun? Yes, Rose?
Pronouns are like he, she.
Okay, but what are they actually? What do they do?
They like take the place of a noun.
That's it.
Yeah.
They really just replace a noun, but it's not as specific, right? Okay? So I'm going to give you, there are 5 that we're going to go through. I'll show you which ones, and that way you can mark them appropriately. The first type of noun that we're going to look at, of the use of a noun or the function, is the subject. The subject. So if it's a subject, and I tell you that word, then you can mark it as S. You can already be looking at these and even marking them now. I'm only going to ask you about specific ones because of time. But the second one is different than a subject, is a predicate nominative. A predicate nominative.
Talking about the first line.
What's that?
Where are we looking? Oh, it's a type of noun.
We're gonna just name some, and we're gonna talk. I want to see what you already know about these, and then we're gonna talk about these more specifically. So like, if predicate nominative does not sound familiar to you, then you probably won't know them when you recognize them. But by the end of the class, you should. All right. Object of the preposition. Now this one should be very familiar to you because in sitting in here throughout the last 6 weeks, I know that prepositional phrases have been covered, so that one should really be very much a review. Direct object. Direct object. And one more. The other one we're going to look at today, and all of these, I could have done indirect object. In fact, I was going to, but I had to like hone it down because it was getting too big. So there's still a couple that we aren't going to cover today. The other one we are going to cover today is direct address. Now, if you look at your words in appointment in Samara, the word death in the first sentence, which of those is it? I want you to write down. Just put your best guess. Second line, or actually it's the third line if you consider the speaker as deaf. See the word master? What is that? Which of those 5 is that? Third line or fourth line, keep forgetting that one. Do you see where it says, I was jostled by a woman? What is woman? Which of those 5 is woman? Is it a subject? Is it a predicate nominative, an object of the preposition, a direct object, or a direct address? And then, the next one is 2 lines down from there. Nope, 3 lines down. There's 2 on this line. The word horse and the word spurs. What are those 2? Horse and spurs. Then go down one more line, and we're going to look at merchant again. All right? Here's merchant. Then the merchant went down to the, what is merchant in that sentence? And just following along to that next line, the word marketplace. How is it used? Is it used as a subject, a predicate nominative, an object of the preposition, a direct object, or direct address? And 2 more. You're next to the last line, the word start. What is that? Which of those is that? And the last one is appointment on the last line. Now remember, this is all review from other years for most of you, but some of you may be unfamiliar because your grammar is, you haven't had a lot of grammar. So that's what we're going to find out a little bit. So we're going to go through these 10, and then we're going to talk about them more specifically so that everybody has an understanding. This is not something, I've been sitting in here for 6 weeks. You are an intelligent class. I mean, really, you guys could learn anything. So this is not going to be hard, but it is something that you got to review. Even because I've been out of school and haven't been doing English per se, some of the terminology and things get weak, but what you do with them is what's going to remain important. So let's look at these. Who can tell me what death is in that first one? Which of those is it? Noah?
Is it a direct object?
It is not.
Direct address.
It is what?
Is it a direct address?
No, it's not direct address.
Predicate nominative.
It's a predicate nominative.
I knew that.
All right?
Let's make sure.
It's a predicate nominative, and we'll talk about why that is a predicate nominative when we get down. I'm just trying to see where you stand. So this seems like it's going to be a good, helpful lesson. Okay, so master.
Okay.
What is that? Yes?
Direct address.
That's direct address. All right? Woman.
Object
Yes.
of a pre-
Tanner.
Lucas.
The preposition?
Object of the preposition. What's the preposition?
In the crowd.
What's the preposition for woman?
Tanner has to leave.
Tanner.
Sorry.
All right.
If there's anything he should take with him.
You have your worksheet there, and I don't know whether it's going to end up being something we do in class or not, or whether she's going to grade it, so I just do it. All right? And then you can get the notes from someone.
Is it by?
By, yep. So the object is woman, but the preposition is by. Okay, and the next one was horse.
object.
Object of the preposition. Okay, so horse, what is that? Yes.
That's a direct.
That's a direct object, all right? And we'll talk about why the death is a predicate nominative and horse is a direct object. And what about spurs? Yes?
Direct object as well.
Direct object, that's right. And what about merchant?
Subject.
Hannah?
The subject?
It's the subject of the sentence, absolutely. And marketplace. What do you think, Emma?
I didn't get that one down because I read the other one, so which?
Marketplace. It's right after, then the merchant went down to the marketplace.
That's the object.
That's it. And what's the preposition? To. Good. And what about start? Go ahead.
Predicate nominative.
Predicate nominative. Again. All right. And the last one, appointment. Yes.
Is that a direct object too?
That is a direct object. Good job. All right. So now we've talked about them, and some of you knew them and some of you didn't. How many was, it was kind of hard, you didn't really know all of them? I mean, if you admit it. That's fine, all right? This is nothing that you can't learn today, all right? Because all of this is really pretty basic stuff. In fact, to teach it and thinking about it, I pulled out my children's books. So these are books that I love. And this is one of the reasons I had kids, so I could read children's books, all right? Because when my kids were growing up, they are all very familiar with all of these stories. So first of all, we're going to use those to help to learn what each one is. And you'll need your worksheet because we're going to talk about them and kind of what they are and give you some hints on them. But generally, the examples, I think, are going to be the biggest help of all. So, subjects. For subjects, I use this is a series of books, sheep books. How many know this story, Sheep in a Jeep? If you have never read Sheep in a Jeep, you've missed an exciting part of life. So it starts off actually with a sentence fragment, all right? So it's a beep, beep, and then sheep in a Jeep on a hill that's steep. So it doesn't have a verb. However, we're going to get to an actual sentence. When the Jeep stops and they got to push it, you see that right there? Sheep shove. That's going to be our example for subject. So if you put in your example, this is my example, if you see on your worksheet, sheep shove. A subject tells what or who is doing the verb. So the verb is shove. It's something that we do. All right. It's an action that we do. And who is doing it?
Sheep.
In our book. The sheep are. All right. So it's the subject. It's who or what is doing that. Whatever that verb is. And that's how you can remember. The other thing that, I don't know if all of you have done any diagramming, but we're going to look at, this is how it looks if you diagram it. It's the sheep is the subject, and the verb is shove. And that kind of just gets you down to, here's what the basics are, and kind of gives you a picture of what it's going to look like. So we're going to put our sheep shove right here. So we remember it with,
I might have to put some sticky back on.
we'll see. All right. So we have, my example tells what or who is doing. Predicate nominative. The book I picked for this one is actually directly from the Bible, but this is a really nicely illustrated book, so we would read this before going to bed a lot of times. It's called The Lord is My Shepherd. Now, this is going to be our example for predicate nominative. What is a predicate nominative? A noun or pronoun, as Rose told us about, that follows a what? What's specific that makes something a predicate nominative rather than a direct object? Yes?
It's not an action verb, it's the other kind of verb. I don't know what
What
the
is
other
it?
verb is.
What's the other guy?
Is it a linking
It's a linking verb, all right? So the linking verb in this sentence is what? Is, all right? So what a linking verb does, I don't know how I termed it here, you'll see in a sentence with a predicate nominative, you can always replace the verb with the word, anybody know? Yes? Reggie?
Equals.
Equals, all right? Equals. So you could say, the Lord equals my shepherd. So if you were putting this on, if you were diagramming this, the subject, who is Lord, is equals, and you'll notice what's a little bit different when you're diagramming is it's just like, if it's a linking verb, they'll put this slash instead of a straight up line, and shepherd, because, you see what this is doing? It's pointing back, it's like shooting back to here, because this and this are the same thing. So anytime you have where it's an equals, that's a predicate nominative. So that's why when Noah said it was it Noah? I'm going to get it right, Noah, right? Who said it was, that the speaker is death, was a direct object, it would be if it was an action verb. But because it's a linking verb, it is not. I lost my, I'll just have to. All right. Next one is, should be, oh, I don't think I finished telling you all the facts there. Let's see. Predicate nominatives can never be in, I'll just tell you, prepositional phrases. You won't ever have them in prepositional phrases. And there's also, I'm just going to give you this term in case you see it like on a test, because sometimes when they do like standardized testing, then you might run into this word. These may also be called subject complements. The other reason that I specifically mention subject complements here is because one of the important things to know when you're looking at the uses of nouns is there's a case. There's two cases. It can either be a subjective or a nominative case, or it can be an objective case. So is it a subject or an object? You're gonna know that this is an object. It's in the term. You're gonna know that this is an object. However, this looks like an object, but it's really subjective. And we're going to see why that's important later when we keep talking here. All right? Let's keep going. The third one is object of the preposition. Answers, what do you think it answers?
Who or what?
All right, who or what? Same thing. Why? Because it's person, place, or thing. All right? Answers who or what to the preposition. And here's a wonderful book if you are not familiar with Harold and the Purple Crayon. All right? It's a classic book and everybody should read it. It only takes about 2 minutes to read through it, where he takes his crayon and he draws his adventure. However, at the end of the book, he draws his bed and his window and he gets back into his home. And you see this line, the purple crayon. Oh, I'm not on the right one. I went to direct object. I'm gonna have to skip here and go back. The purple crayon dropped, no, I am on the right one. The purple crayon dropped on the floor. So what is floor?
Object.
Yes, object of the preposition. All right, so object of the preposition, here you have it. What's the subject? Crayon. What's the verb? Dropped. And then you have, if you'll look, if you were diagramming this, dropped on floor, and it tells you, it relates the floor to the rest of the sentence. How does it all apply to that sentence? It tells you on the floor. All right, so object of the preposition, there you have it.
I don't know if he's going to stay up or not, without my sticky back. All right, so that's number 3. Direct object. What's the difference between a direct object? I'm not gonna do it. If I can find my sticky tack, I'll be happier. Ah, there it is. Yes.
It's a predicate nominative, except it's with an action verb.
You can't say it's a predicate nominative because it's not, all right?
It's nearly a predicate nominative.
Okay, let's look at the, a direct object, a noun or pronoun that follows an
Action verb.
action verb. So the difference is it follows an action verb, all right? Instead, a predicate nominative follows a